out of the abandoned house as her body shook in fear. Once upon a time, in a very small village, an abandoned house sat empty in the corner of the village. All the villagers whispered of the strange happenings in the house, as anyone who entered never returned the same. A man named Okonkwo once entered the abandoned house and returned without his voice and memory. Till this day, Okonkwo has not been able to tell anyone the details of what had happened to him in the abandoned house. So, the house sits in its corner, empty, as nobody dared to enter for fear of ending up like Okonkwo. Not so long ago, a girl named Ijemma moved into the village from the bustling city. Her house sat next to the abandoned house, and Ijemma wondered why she never saw anyone going in or coming out of the house next door. Ijemma, out of curiosity, walked towards the house to knock. She knocked for a few minutes and there was no response, so she turned to leave when suddenly the door opened widely. "Who is there?" she said out loud as she walked into the house, shutting the door behind her. Ijemma walked gently into the house as she noticed the house looked dirty and unkept. Dust settled on the shelves and the house was covered in cobwebs. She moved from one room to the other, and the more she explored the house, the more she was convinced that no one lived inside the house. Ijemma then turned to leave when she suddenly heard a voice that whispered for help. "Who is there? Reveal yourself," she said with a shaky voice as a woman stood in the middle of the room. "Do not be scared. I will not harm you," the voice reassured Ijemma, who summoned the courage to walk up to the strange woman. They spoke for minutes, and Ijemma listened to everything the woman had to say. The strange woman gave Ijemma some instructions and pleaded with her to follow through with the instructions as the lives of the villagers depended on it. Immediately the woman was done talking with Ijemma, she disappeared into thin air. It was then that it dawned on Ijemma that she had been speaking with a ghost. Ijemma ran out of the abandoned house as her body shook in fear. She bumped into a girl in the village named Chika, who asked Ijemma why she looked terrified, and Ijemma told Chika that she had just seen a ghost in the house next door. Chika looked at Ijemma in shock as she revealed that the abandoned house had not been inhabited in over 2 decades, and that all the people who went into the house never returned the same. Ijemma spent the whole day thinking about what the strange woman instructed her to do. She tried to ignore it, but found herself being moved to help the strange woman. So she made up her mind to follow through with the instructions, as she remembered that the lives of the villagers depended on her. The next morning, Ijemma gathered the courage to start following the instructions given to her by the ghost in the abandoned house. She knew that she could not let fear hold her back, especially when lives depended on it. The first task the ghost had given Ijemma was to seek out a wise old man named Achebe, who lived at the outskirts of the village. Achebe was known for his knowledge of ancient rituals and the things of the spirits. People would often visit him for advice and guidance on spiritual issues. Ijema then decided to pay Achebe a visit to share her unusual encounter with the ghost in the abandoned house. When she arrived at Achebe's hut, she found him sitting beneath a giant tree surrounded by ancient relics and herbs. Ijema told him about her experience and the instructions given to her by the ghost. Achebe listened carefully and nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "You have been chosen for a special task, Ijema," Achebe said with a calm voice. "The spirit who spoke to you may hold the key to something important for our village. I will help you interpret the instructions and guide you in fulfilling them." Achebe went into his hut and brought out a calabash etched with some ancient carvings. He gave the calabash to Ijema and told her to venture into the forest. Achebe then told Ijema that when she arrives the entrance of the forest, she should speak some words into the calabash, and that when she does, she would be guided by the spirits of the forest to the hut of a great and powerful woman who holds the key to the message given to her by the ghost. Ijema set out on her way, and when she arrived the entrance of the forest, she spoke into the calabash as Achebe had told her to do, and suddenly she saw a trail of ants that lined a path, and Ijema felt an urge to follow the path. She followed the trail of ants and arrived a hut deep in the forest. There she saw a woman who smiled and welcomed her, saying, "You are here for the entrapment reversal herb. You are welcome, my daughter." The woman then went in and brought the herbs, telling Ijema to burn the herbs in front of the abandoned house, and that which had been entrapped would be finally released. Ijema then returned to the abandoned house and did as the powerful woman had instructed. As she burnt the herbs, the air was thick with anticipation as the wind carried the scent of the rare herbs into the abandoned house. The house trembled as the curse began to weaken, and slowly the spirit emerged from the house, thanking Ijema as she told her the story of how she got trapped in the house decades ago. At this point, the villagers had all gathered to watch the release of the entrapped healer who had lived in the abandoned house for decades. The ghost's name was Adaeze, and she was a healer who had used her powers to help the village. However, her abilities had attracted the jealousy of a rival healer who placed a curse on her.
Adaeze, I curse you today to be trapped in your own hut, never to be released, as your powers become useless, and your memory fades from the hearts of those who know you.
Adaeze became trapped in her own hut and did all she could to free herself. However, she realized that only a person with a pure heart would be able to retrieve the entrapment reversal herb from the guardian of the forest. All the people who visited the abandoned house in the past all came with bad intentions, including Okonkwo, who tried to steal some items from the house and was struck with dumbness and loss of memory. Adaeze had waited for one with a pure heart to visit and was excited when Ijema walked in through the door. Adaeze then revealed that if the curse had not been broken when it did, the curse could spread around the village, entrapping innocent people in their homes. Ijema's heart was gladdened as she watched Adaeze ascend into the sky, disappearing into the heavens. From that day forward, The abandoned house was no longer feared, as it remained a symbol of hope for the villagers who passed the story down for generations. The lesson to be learned from this story is that being courageous is a vital element that helps us succeed in almost all spheres of life. In today's world, courage is often misunderstood as lack of fear, but this is not the case, as courage is about doing what is right, irrespective of fear or even using fear as motivation. There is no courage without fear. I hope this story encourages you to be courageous in whatever situation you find yourself, as we all need courage to live our lives without regret. I hope you enjoyed the story.
Like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It helps us grow our channel. I'll see you in our next story. Bye.